What's going on, everyone? Welcome back. Today I wanted to showcase some Talonflame gameplay in the Open Great League. Talon is basically one of the only viable Fire-type Pokemon you can use in Great League, and because of its secondary Flying-type resisting ground and fighting, it makes it a very powerful core breaker. Without further ado, let's get into the battles and see what this team can do. Alright, hopping right on into the first game of the day, Talon in the lead up against an Azumarill, a very neutral matchup here. You might expect the Water-type to beat the Fire-type Pokemon, and I mean it does, but it's not as bad as you might think, and since I do have the Shadow Annihilape in the backline, I'm going to be very happy to deal with this Pokemon here. In comes the Charge Move, likely just an Ice Beam. That was only 6 bubbles, so I mean, it could be a player up, but that'd be kind of crazy. It was not a Hydro Pump, which is what we want to know. Brave Bird is going to come through now. Does our opponent shield this up, or will they let it go? Brave Bird is going to do a lot of damage if they let it go, and because this Azumarill is so bulky, they might survive this next fly, but we have whittled down a Pokemon that our own Annihilape does not want to see in the backline. If our Azumarill is going to be able to survive, they do get that bubble down and unfortunately can reach this Ice Beam against our Gastrodon. With that said, now we are going to be able to get a full Mud Slap down here and potentially use energy on our Gastrodon and on our Annihilape in the backline, depending on what their team is going to be. It is an Annihilape in the backline of their own, which means that we have to go for this Earth Power, try to draw a shield, and because they're the non-Shadow, I think we will survive this just barely, get a shield advantage, and then set up our own Shadow Annihilape to sweep. In comes Earth Power. That Rage Fist is going to boost their attack stat, but luckily our Ghost-type Pokemon in the backline will be able to neutralize their Fighting-type Fast Food Pressure. As long as we don't take a super effective Rage Fist, we should be in a very good spot. In comes a Charge Move here from our opponent. It will draw a shield. A boosted Rage Fist might not one-shot us, but at this point I do have to shield basically anything thrown. We are a very squishy Pokemon, and we are going to build up as much energy as we can here. Our opponent, though, making a fantastic catch, but on an Alolan Sandslash, that is not what you want to catch on. I can just go for an Undercharge, counter them all the way down, and get all of my energy back. At this point, that A-Slash had nowhere to go. GG's to them. All right, next game here, we're going to see our Talon up against a Malamar, a very neutral matchup. Obviously, Malamar will outpace us to foul plays, and Sidewave is going to add up over time, but so are these Incinerates. They are neutral damage against them. You can see they are chunking down their HP as quickly as possible, but in comes the foul play. I know I can survive this, but depending on how they want to play this out, it could be bad to end up no-shielding that move. I do let it go, though. I'm going to see if they're going to no-shield this Fly right now. Fly will do a massive amount of damage here. The next Incinerate might be enough to knock out, but no, they survive on 1 HP, meaning they are going to get this next move off. I'm going to shield this up, go for a Brave Bird, and try to get a shield from whatever is going to come in. Superpower will draw our shield, and our opponent is thinking about what they want to bring in. At this point, Dugong is going to be shown. I have switch advantage. I can just bring in my Shadow Annihilape to deal with this once we throw this Brave Bird and get knocked out. Our Annihilape will have a good matchup here, but our opponent is instantly going to swap out to a Ground-type Pokemon. Looks like a Shadow Kanto Marowak, a Pokemon with a lot of fast and charge move pressure, which means we're going to try to draw a shield with this Rage Fist and then swap out to our Gastrodon. At this point, we should be in a pretty good spot. We have the Fighting-type Pokemon for the Dugong. We can neutralize this Mud Slapper with our own Mud Slapper, and as long as they are not able to knock out our Gastrodon, we should be able to win this game later on with our Annihilape. In comes the Bone Club here. I'm going to go for this Body Slam, actually try to get the knockout against them before the next move is going to be reached. I know Earth Power is going to do a lot of damage to them against that Dugong in the backline, rather, and we can potentially whittle them down or force energy out of this matchup. In comes our Earth Power. Opponent is not going to have any shields left over at this point. It will do a massive amount of damage, put them into counter down range. I might even be able to reach another Body Slam here if they're going to try to commit to a farm down, which if they do, we should easily be able to win this game. We have a Body Slam ready to go at this point. I think that might have even been a CMP event, which would be fantastic for us. A lot of energy going to be wasted there, but that is one counter of damage away from getting knocked out. Our Annihilape is going to be able to close out this game. We have that shield ready to go. Icy Wind knocks out our Gastro, but in comes our own Ape, counter it down, and we can take the win there. Next matchup, we're going to see the Talon up against a Shadow Drapion in the lead. Not a great lead matchup, but we have two Pokemon in the back that definitely can deal with this pick. They're going to stay in for just a second, it looks like here, and go for maybe a Crunch. I'm going to no-shield, hope for an Aqua Tail bait, and see what they're going to bring in. I know a lot of the time they're going to try to get a shield from me here and then swap into a hard counter, which is kind of the case this time. Mandibuzz is not the hardest answer. It's kind of weird to say that the Dark and Flying-type Pokemon doesn't just hard answer the Fighting and Ghost-type, but because of these neutral counters and super effective Ice Punch, we're able to do a lot of damage, and this is a Snarl Mandibuzz, which means they're not going to have quite as much damage with their fast move. I do still no-shield that attack up, though. I know that our Talonflame isn't that bad into Drapion up energy here, so as long as I get a nice farm down, we can throw flies against them and potentially still win this game. Dark Pulse coming through, it does a massive amount of damage to us, but I know Talon should be able to go for an Incinerate down here, shield one time, and 2 more Incinerates should be enough to knock out Mandibuzz. Unfortunately, I will go over 100 energy here, which is never what you want to do, but because at this point I want this energy and I want that farm down, I don't want to throw energy against Mandy, and I'm fine just going a bit over that 100 energy mark. Our opponent will bring in an Azumarill here, which means that this energy is going to do a little bit less damage, and maybe I can draw a shield or get a ton of damage with our Brave Bird. I know Gastrodon at this point is going to have a field day if they let this move through. I'm hoping this Brave Bird is going to land. Our opponent, though, opting to shield it up, which is fantastic for them, very bad for us. But then a Simul swap as well, meaning the Shadow Drapion is going to get farmed down by our Gastrodon. This is going to be a very interesting endgame. Crunch comes through, it does a decent chunk of damage, but these Mud Saps are doing even more damage to them. They don't even reach a second charge move, and because this Azumarill is now down in energy to my Gastrodon, I think I can outpace, go for Earth Powers against them, and potentially knock them out. With that said, I know they're at a decent amount of energy still. This Ice Beam will knock us out if I end up letting it go. I have to shield it up, and I have to hope that I can knock them out with Mud Saps plus Earth Power before they're able to knock out our Gastrodon. We don't have a lot of HP or energy left over on Talon at this point. I'm kind of wishing I just went straight for Fly against this Azu. If I did go for that, I'd be one Incinerate away from another Fly, but because I did not, I am not quite at the move yet. They get the full bubble down. GG's to our opponent. I should have played that out a little bit better. Just going straight Fly would have won us that game. All right, next matchup, Jumpluff in the lead, a very good lead matchup for us here, and our opponent swapping in a Shadow Annihilape, a Pokemon we do have a good answer for with our Talonflame, but honestly, it's a little bit tricky when I want to use my Talon for both this Pokemon and also that Jumpluff that was in the lead. I have to go for a shield here, I have to go for these Flies as well to try our best to farm this down, and I know at this point they have another Rachis. Annihilape is very spammy, and these resisted counters are already putting us below half HP. I do go for the Incinerate Sneak. I knew they were going to try to CMP us there. If I did go for that Fly, that'd be a lot of wasted energy, but now I can get a full farm down, have two Flies back-to-back ready for whatever is going to come in, and I need to save my Talon, swap out, as long as the Jumpluff doesn't come in, I guess. What is going to come in? They're taking a second to decide. It is a normal type, a Dunsparce, it looks like, which means our own Shadow Annihilape will be able to force back out this Jumpluff, go for an Ice Punch. This is where Ice Punch is fantastic to have. It won't one-shot them, but it will do quite a bit if they let it through, which they do. That's basically Body Slam range at this point for our Gastrodon, and if we can survive this Aerial Ace, we can even get to a Rage Fist here, drawing a shield with our Ape, and then using energy with our Talonflame in the backline to win this game. Our opponent does actually opt to let us get this move off before they throw another move against us. This Rachis will knock them out, and now in comes that Dunsparce. 2 or 3 counters of boosted damage against them is fantastic to see. We have a Brave Bird ready to go. I guess I could have gone for Double Fly as well, but I want to guarantee the shield, go for a Mud Sap and Earth Power knockout with our Gastro, and this game should be more than ours. In comes the Drill Run. We are well outside of 2-shot range. 3 would be able to knock us out though, so I do want to throw my Earth Power as soon as we can here. Drill Run number 1 comes through, the next one coming through in just a second, and our opponent needs back-to-back, and they would need to win CMP if they wanted any chance to win this game, but I know Dunsparce is very bulky. Gastrodon, while it does have some bulk to it, is much more attack weighted, which means that even if they had that move, which it looks like they did not even CMP us here, we would be able to win that CMP, go for Earth Power, and knock out the Dunsparce. All right, next matchup, we're going to see Talon up against a Shadow Typhlosion in the lead, a fellow Fire-type Pokemon, but a very scary Pokemon at that. I'm going to instantly swap into Shadow Annihilape and bait out an Azumarill. This Pokemon is obviously a very bulky Pokemon, and I threw on bad timing. Not great, not what I wanted to see there, but this Rage Fist should at least still start ramping up our attack stat, and because we did get a bit of an energy lead on the swap, and we're still not in a terrible spot, but man, I wish I did not throw in that bad timing. In comes a Charge Move, likely an Ice Beam is going to draw our shield here. Our opponent has a big decision to make if they want to go for Switch or if they want to just go for shield advantage. I'm going to go for this next Rage Fist. It won't knock them out, but if I do go for a nice undercharge here and they end up letting it go, I can come out of this match with a ton of energy, or I guess if they shield, I can go for another Rage Fist, or potentially just get the shield right now, or no shield this, and get a farm down with one of my Pokemon in the backline. Ice Beam comes through, it does a massive amount of damage. I'm going to go for a very interesting play, actually. I'm going to build up energy on our Talonflame. I know if we have enough energy here, we can do a decent amount of work against that, what was in the lead, the Shadow Typhlosion, and then potentially against whatever's in the backline once this Azu's out of the way. Build that energy, swap out to our Gastrodon, and see the final Pokemon is going to be a Diggersby, a Pokemon which obviously is not the best Pokemon for a Gastrodon to see, but it is a neutral Pokemon, which means our Earth Powers and Mud Saps are going to add up over time, and we still have energy on Talonflame. There is a chance we can win this game, although it is a bit tricky knowing they still have access to a full HP Talon, or Typhlosion rather. We have a very low HP Talon, and this Diggersby as well is very bulky. They're able to spam out these Scorching Sands and potentially get debuffs against us. In comes a Charge Move. What is it going to be? It's a Fire Punch bait, actually, which is good and bad. It means no debuff is going to be possible there. In comes a Body Slam. Our opponent is going to have to shield this if they don't want to get Mud Sap down. In comes a Body Slam. They no shield, and fortunately, we get the full Mud Sap down here. There's a chance now that we can win this game. I have to make sure that I can land my moves against this Typhlosion if possible. In comes our first Charge Move. Body Slam won't knock them out, but it will put them very low if they opt to let this go. Body Slam will get the shield here. Our opponent tries to call the combo play, but I don't go for it. I just need to make sure that I can swap out and throw the Fly Fly in the middle of an Incinerate, and I can guarantee the knockout against this Shadow Typhlosion. Fly is going to come through, knock out the Fire-type Pokemon, showing which Fire-type is going to come out on top here in the Go Battle League. Alright, next game, a Talonflame up against a Malamar. Once again, very neutral matchup, and I know our Shadow Annihilape does want to avoid this, so if this gets out of the way, we should be in a very good spot. In comes the first charge move from our opponent, likely going to be a foul play. Our opponent is going to be able to do a decent amount of damage to us, so I'm going to shield this up, try our best to go for a Fly against them, and draw a shield from them here. In comes Fly. Do they shield? Do they let this go? That is the big question that they have to ask themselves. Fly is going to end up getting a no shield there, and now the next Incinerate will be enough to knock out, but I'm pretty sure at this point that we have a Brave Bird ready to go against whatever's going to come in. We can survive this foul play just barely and go and likely get a shield back here with this charge move. It's a Shadow Drapion, it looks like, so a Pokemon our backline is exactly going to want to see. We have a Gastron, which can line up into this, and even Shadow Annihilape is also pretty good there. So I bring in my Gastro, try to absorb all the damage that we can, and our opponent instantly swaps out to a bit of a tricky Pokemon actually to see here. A Serperior is going to be one of the hardest Pokemon that we could possibly see. It has super effective Aerial Ace, but honestly, if they go for Frenzy Plant, that is the better play. Ace doesn't quite one-shot us here, so Frenzy is going to be the play for them, especially up energy. And because I do have my Rage Fist, I'm going to try to do as much damage as I can to them, but I don't think I can put them into Body Slam range before they're going to reach a second charge move. And comes that next move, and as I was saying here, this is a very bad spot to be in. At this point, all I can do is hope that we can reach an Earth Power against them before a Frenzy Plant is going to knock us out. But they're on their 5 cycle. I am 4 away, but unfortunately I have 4 3-turn moves compared to 5 2-turn moves. They outpace us to that Frenzy, and they take the win there. All right, next matchup, a Jumpluff up against our Talonflame. Very good lead for us here. Our opponent swapping out instantly to a Diggersby. That is by no means a safe swap here, especially in the meta where there's so many Azus, Dugongs, and Shadow Annihilate specifically that we can use of our own to counter this all the way down, or at least get as much energy as possible to maybe Ice Punch this and Ice Punch the Jumpluff. I'm going to try our best to CMP on a Fire Punch. I know at this point this will knock them out if they let it go. If they shield, I can shield myself, farm down, Ice Punch the Jumpluff, and still be in a very good spot. They actually have to let the Ice Punch go, which does make some sense here, but Ice Punch has been revealed. Do they want to shield their Jumpluff, or do they come in with their final Pokemon here? It's going to be the Corsola. I mean, at this point, I might not be boosted my attack stat, but a Shadow Annihilate with a boosted Rage Fist, or I guess not even boosted here, I was just saying, just a Rage Fist on its own, still going to do a lot of damage. It's going to be able to put them down into Mud Sap downrange, or even Incinerate downrange, and at this point, all I need to do is use my Gastron as a way to neutralize Corsola, and then Talon should be able to neutralize this Jumpluff later on. Jumpluff is a very spammy Pokemon, pretty bulky as well, which means it is going to be able to spam out these Aerial Aces, survive these Incinerates, and force me to throw charge moves. Having Flame Charge, I guess, in a spot like this would be much better for us. I know I'd have to throw on Bad Timing one way or another. They're very close to the next move, so I'm just going to throw right now, try to get a guaranteed Shield Fly. It will come through. Our opponent does opt to shield up that attack, and now Incinerates are going to add up over time. They're already below half HP just with fast moves at this point. I don't need to shield just yet, but the next Aerial Ace will come close to knocking us out, so I will have to start respecting it and shielding up this attack. I have to throw on Bad Timing if I want to knock them out here, but I think our opponent might be trying to go for a catch in just a second. Actually, I can throw after one Incinerate, but I'm still going to call the catch here. Our opponent staying in for just a second, and I'm just, at this point, going to shield this, farm them all the way down, and throw Flies against that Corsola. We get that full Incinerate down, and at this point, Corsola is very low. I can go for these Flies. It might not be quite enough knockout, but if they ever let it go, I can just go for a Mud Sap down as well. They do let it go. Mud Sap going to come in, knock out the Corsola at 1 HP, and take the win there. All right, next matchup, Talon up against a Shadow Gyarados. Oh my goodness, that is actually a terrible Pokemon for our entire team to see. A huge team breaker here. I'm going to safe swap our Gastron of all things. That's a Waterfall Gyarados too. That's even worse here for our Talonflame, and they catch the Body Slam on their Medicham of all things. Okay, what is going on this game? Very spicy team from our opponent here. Psycho Cut Medicham is going to be the choice from our opponent. Luckily, no counters means no fast move pressure, but this Psycho Cut and these Dynamic Punches are going to add up very quickly. It doesn't quite one-shot us here, which is good to see. I can reach this Earth Power, try our best to get a bit of damage, maybe a shield from them. Maybe I can flip switch, but I don't even need to. I guess I do flip switch against Medicham, but there's a Shadow Gyarados in the background. It's a huge core breaker for our Shadow Annihilate plus Talonflame duo, and even though those counters are adding up, they have a lot of energy. I don't know what we can do this game to try to win. I just have to hope that Talon in the backline is going to be enough to beat whatever that final Pokemon is going to be. Aquatail going to get shielded. I have a Rage Fist ready to go. Hopefully going to get a shield from this Gyarados itself. Rage Fist is going to come through. Our opponent opts to shield it up, and the backline, fortunately, a little bit of relief here. It's a Clefable, a Pokemon that we definitely can have played with our Talonflame. In comes a Swift, likely against us here. Swift, a very spammy move, but I know that Fly and Incinerate are going to add up over time, and at this point, I just need to make sure I have as much energy as possible, get to back-to-back Flies, get a shield from either this Clefable or get a shield from that Shadow Gyarados, and then try to get to a Rachis potentially before getting Waterfall down with our Shadow Annihilape. Fly is going to come through. Our opponent does opt to let it go. Fly number 2 ready to go against the Shadow Gyarados. This should draw the shield, and if I can reach a Rachis, there's a chance we can actually win this game somehow. Shadow Gyarados is going to try its best to farm us down, but these Shadow Waterfalls not quite enough to take us out before this Rage Fist should be able to knock out the Shadow Gyarados. I don't know how he just won this game, but you know, GG's to our opponent. Very close game there. Next matchup, Talon up against a Guzzlord lead. Very awkward lead, actually, for us. I do have a Gastrodon in the backline that's pretty neutral against this. I also have a Shadow Annihilape, which is a very good answer to this Pokemon, but I also know I don't really want to swap in either one of them down energy, so I'm going to go for a Fly first, try to draw a shield, or get as much damage against them as I can. In comes the Fly. They actually hop to no shield a potential Braper there. Fantastic call by them. And then, oh boy, they come in with a Shadow Drifblim. This is just a game over. I don't really have a great Drifblim answer in the first place, and if they get a full farm down against our Gastrodon here, what can I even do? Body Slam is going to do nothing to them. I'm just out here. There's no way I win that game. If I don't have Water Pulse, I don't have any coverage whatsoever against Drifblim. GG's to them. Next game, at least it's not a Drifblim this time. Well, Drifblim, I guess, in the lead would be fantastic to see, but it's an Annihilape, which is another Ghost type that our Talonflame has a lot of play into. In comes a Rage Fist. It's a non-Shadow Annihilape, though. I'm going to try to opt to no-shield this and go for Flies here in just a second to try to draw shields from this Pokemon. Fly is going to be thrown. Our opponent is staying in for just a second here, likely meaning they're going to play out the one-shield matchup, try their best to draw another shield from us, and at this point, potentially knock us out in the 2 shield with counter damage. I don't know if they actually could do that, but I'm just going to no-shield this anyway and try to counter them all the way down here with our Shadow Annihilape. I lagged a turn on entry, which is so bad because that means that's one less counter that I'm going to get here against this Pokemon. But if I can get a full counter down, that is, I think, going to be my best play to win this game. These counters are adding up. At this point, I just have to hope we can get it. We actually get a full counter down before their next Rage Shift, which is fantastic, especially because there's a Jumpluff in the back line. I absolutely needed all this energy if I wanted any chance to win this game. Ice Punch is going to nearly one-shot the Jumpluff, and at this point, I'm going to go for a Rage Fist, try our very best to knock out this Jumpluff before our Gastrodon has to deal with it, and Rage Fist ends up getting shielded. I do have a Rage Fist ready to go against them in just a second here. They are at back-to-back Aerial Aces, but I have the Rage Fist loaded right now. As long as they don't catch this move, I can neutralize this Jumpluff with our Shadow Annihilape just barely somehow taking out one of the worst Pokemon for a backline to see once our Talonflame is gone. Rachis does knock him out, and a Bastiodon comes in the backline. We have double boosted counters at this point. We can knock him out with Fast Move and Charge Move Pressure, and comes the next Rage Fist. Is the Smackdown going to knock us out, or is our Shadow Annihilape going to be able to just counter them down? Who even needs Gastrodon? Apparently it's an endgame sweep with our Shadow Annihilape. That's actually a full sweep. You can counter down the Annihilape, counter down the Bastiodon, counter down the Jumpluff. GG's to them. Next game, another Annihilape in the lead. Let's see what our opponent is going to do here. I know for a fact we're in a very good spot. Our opponent as well save swapping. That is not a save swap. That's a Toxapex. We have our Gastrodon, which is going to be fantastic to neutralize all of the damage this Pokemon is going to throw. I know Brine is a neutral attack against us, but it's not very strong. Poison Jabs are also resisted. Mud Zap on our side is super effective. Earth Power as well is going to basically knock him out from this health range at this point, and Gastro can build up extra energy, throw moves against that Annihilape, and we should be in a very good spot. Comes our next Earth Power here. Our opponent could shield this up if they want to, but at this point, I'm kind of fine if they do, because I can let this go, get a counter down with my Annihilape, or I guess I just let it go in the first place, and now I'm going to throw an Earth Power if I can, but no, they start ramping up with their Annihilape of their own, and at this point, we have 100 energy on Talon. I can let this go down, go for Flies, and force them to swap out, or potentially... They catch one on a Carbink? Okay, whatever. This is totally fine as well. I can just go for my Annihilape, build up a ton of energy, and we should be able to win this endgame here with our Monkey. GG to them. Alright, next game going to be a Talon in the lead up against a Licky. Oh boy, okay, well that's a terrible lead matchup to be in. I'm going to save our Gastrodon here, and there's the Drifblim. Yeah, see, our team doesn't have an answer to Drifblim, alright? This is just what you have to do. If you see a Drifblim on the back line, you just kind of lose the game, unfortunately. But if you don't see Drifblims, this seems pretty good. Alright, we actually saw an Alolan Sandslash in the lead this next game. A much better lead to see. Our whole team has played to that, and because of this, I'm going to swap into our Gastrodon when they say swap their own Gastro, and at this point, just try to keep energy on Talonflame, and comes a Charge Move, likely going to be an Earth Power to do as much damage as they can. I'm going to throw an Earth Power of our own here to try to get a KO, but our opponent actually wins CMP, and they outpace us here because I stayed in so long with our Talonflame. In comes a Body Slam, and because I've been seeing so many Drifblims at this point, I'm just going to come back in with our Talon, build up as much energy as we can, just in case that is what it is in the backline, and throw a Fly here to knock out Gastrodon in just a second. I'm going to shield up this Body Slam. I don't like shielding that move up, but I have so much PTSD right now from seeing all of these Drifblims that I will shield that move up. It doesn't seem like a team that it would be too unlikely to have a Drifblim, right? But no, it's actually the classic double Mud Sap in the backline, meaning Talonflame not only has play against the lead, but against every single Pokemon in this team. In comes another flyer. Opponent at this point is going to have to let this go unless they are going to try to two-shield their way through us, but I don't think they can at this point. I think it can still outpace them here to the next fly, and then we're going to have a Shadow Annihilape to just punch down this Alolan Sandslash when it comes back in. GG's to our opponent once again. Next game, Talon up against a Shadow Pidgeot in the lead. Honestly, not a Pokemon I really want to see with any of my Pokemon, but I do know these Incinerates are going to add up over time, and Fly is going to draw a shield likely from them. If I had Flame Charge, I'd be a bit more confident in this matchup, knowing that Flame Charge would boost my attack stat, make it so it's a bit more of an easy farm down, but these gusts are adding up actually over time here, and comes a charge move likely going to be an Aerial Ace or a Feather Dance, likely not a Brave Bird. Ace does come through, it is a bit cheaper, so it does make sense to throw that, and in comes another charge move here from the Shadow Pidgeot. I'm going to shield this up, and after that landing that Incinerate, I know with how clunky a 5-turn into 4-turn move is, I can't Incinerate down, so instead I'm going to try to swap out and counter them down. Unfortunately, they do survive on like 1 HP, so they are still going to have a bit of energy. I don't think they're going to be able to throw a move, but they will be able to potentially land a Gust against my Talon later on, which could be very awkward. They respond, though, to our Shadow Annihilape with a Toxapex of all things. That is by no means an answer to us. They do have a shield advantage, though, so they will be able to, at the very least, win this matchup the longer it goes on. But these Rage Fists are going to add up themselves and potentially put them into a range where we can Mud Sap down very easily before they can knock out our Gastron or land a charge move against us. In comes our Mud Saps, getting as much energy as we can here. No charge move is going to be reached from that Toxapex. What is their final Pokemon? That they still have that catch remaining on that Pidgeot, which is a little bit tricky to deal with, but I have our Earth Power ready to go up against the Diggersby. Do they shield? Do they let it go? They probably have to let this go, knowing I have a Brave Bird in the backline, potentially with our Talonflame, and in comes their first charge move here in just a second. I have to hope for no debuff, but if a debuff does end up happening, this is going to be a very tricky game to win. In comes a Scorching Sands. It does have the ability to two-shot us at this point, and they do get a debuff here. I'm going to throw this Earth Power instantly and try our best to get a shield from them. It does end up getting the shield here, even though I'm debuffed. They try to call the combo play, but unfortunately for them, I just go for an extra Mud Sap, and now at this point, all I need to do is whittle them down into Fly or Brave Bird range. I mean, at this point, they're already in range where I can knock them out. I just need an opportunity to swap into my Talon without being sniped down by a Scorching Sands. So just let my Gastron go down, let my Talonflame be brought in, and potentially knock them out here with a Fly in the endgame. We have so much energy on our Talon, we can just go for this Fly, barely overcome one of the trickier teams, or the trickier leads rather, that our whole team could see here. We have a lot of play into the Shadow Pidgeot with our Talon, but our backline would absolutely hate to see it, so able to barely come over that tricky matchup. All right, next game, a very bad lead matchup. Shadow Drapion. I'm going to swap into our Gastron instantly. I've noticed a lot of these Shadow Drapion teams don't really have hard Gastron answers in the backline, so it seems like that Gambit did pay off. For once, the Ghost type that responds to our Gastron safe swap is not a Drifblim, but a Corsola is still going to be very tricky to try to deal with. In comes our Earth Power. The Nightshade does a lot of damage to us. This Earth Power as well, if it ends up landing, is going to do quite a bit of damage to them, and I'm very happy I did bait out this Corsola so our Shadow Ape doesn't have to deal with it, but I don't know exactly what the backline is going to be. If it is the Azumarill that we kind of expected to be with a Shadow Drapion in the lead, then it's going to be a tricky endgame. If it's like a Diggersby, though, there's a good chance we can still win this one. I do get 2 Incinerates of a farm down against that Corsola. This energy is going to help us outpace the Shadow Drapion to the first charge move. I can go for this Fly, hopefully get a shield from them, or maybe just land this move, honestly, would probably be even better for us. Fly does end up drawing a shield. Our opponent is going to throw an Aqua Tail here in just a second. I think I can survive this, and at this point, swap to our Shadow Annihilape, take that shield advantage, and try to start running with it. Maybe I can use our shield advantage, Shadow Annihilape, to win this endgame. Our opponent throwing another charge move against our Shadow Annihilape before swapping out. Aqua Tail will draw our shield, unfortunately not a crunch, which means that they have a bit of energy remaining there. I'm going to go for Rage Fist. It is going to be that Azumarill in the backline, but I think at this point, even though we have the energy lead, we don't have quite enough damage to knock out Azu in the one shield matchup before they can reach 2 Ice Beams. In comes the second Rage Fist. At this point, it probably will get no shielded, but I would love to see a shield here. That'd probably be our win condition. No, our opponent does let it go. At this point, I just have to hope that I can somehow counter this all the way down. If I can win this game, but I'm pretty sure at this point, my damage is not going to be quite enough for us to get a full fast move farm down. In comes the charge move. I do make a catch with our Talon, but it's not going to matter at this point. We have to clear our debuffs by doing this, or our boost rather, by doing this with our Shadow Annihilape, and because of that, in comes the Shadow Drapion, and we actually lag a turn on entry, giving them an extra poison sting when I throw this move. I shouldn't have given them that sneak if I didn't lag a turn here, which would have given me 1 extra counter. I don't think, though, it would have been enough. I don't think it ended up mattering, but if 1 boosted counter could have knocked him out from this range, then I guess this game could have potentially been a win that was taken from me, but I don't think it'd be quite enough there. Still a very close game. GG's to our opponent. All right, next matchup, a Jumpluff in the lead. Very, very good matchup for us here. Our opponent safe swapping a Shadow Drapion of Pokemon that our Gastron would absolutely love to see here. These Incinerates, or these Mudslaps rather, doing quite a bit of damage, and putting them into range for Body Slam will knock them out here in just a second. I want to keep Switch at all costs at this point. I know that we want to keep our Annihilape away from that Jumpluff, so I will throw this energy. This energy isn't all that useful against that Jumpluff in the first place, so might as well just use it here. Guarantee not going down shields, and keeping Switch advantage against this Jumpluff. In comes a Body Slam up against this Pokemon. I know at this point they are likely going to farm to 100 energy, throw a charge move at the very end here, and have as much energy for a Talonflame as possible. They can't really Fairy Wind us all the way down. Luckily, that is the perks of them not having a Grass-type fast move. They're using a non-stab Fairy-type fast move instead, which means Gastron is able to at least chip this thing down a little bit. At this point, they do throw a charge move after 100 energy. This is going to knock us out unless they undercharge like an Aerialist here. They go for Energy Ball. Okay, well, that implies that they are running double nuke. I think you always go for Aerialist if you are not running Acrobatics as your secondary move here. But even with that said, I'm still going to no-shield this move up. I know that our Shadow Annihilape with shields in the backline should be pretty strong once this Jumpluff is out of the way. And while that is kind of the case, it's actually a Shadow Annihilape in the backline. Maybe I should have shielded up that Acrobatics. With that said, I think we're still in a very good spot where we can bring in our shield advantage Shadow Annihilape and close out this backline with Rage Fist and Ice Punches. In comes a Rage Fist from our opponent here. I know the way that I win this game is always making sure I can knock out this Annihilape and keeping enough energy that I can throw Ice Punches or Rage Fists against that Jumpluff when it comes back in. They threw all of their energy against our Talon. They are running Acrobatics as their charge move, which means they have no way to bait us with Aerialist or outpace us to a charge move there. Rage Fist is going to come through. Our opponent brings back in the Jumpluff, and I'm going to go for a Rage Fist here in just a second, but I'm kind of thinking maybe I messed up a little bit here. I know Rage Fist is a strong move, but they might still survive this non-Shadow Jumpluff. This next counter, barely not enough to knock out, but I mean, we're still fine. That Annihilape is going to be completely energy dry. I can get an extra Incinerate lead here, and then I can get another Incinerate against the Annihilape before they're going to reach a charge move. One more Incinerate is going to be enough to reach a Brave Bird here. Might as well throw it, knock out this Shadow Annihilape, and take the win this game. Talon once again core breaking a team, doing what it does best here in this meta. It's not always the most consistent pick when there's so many Shadow Drapion Azumarill teams just in general, but because it is such a great core breaker against the fighters and the grass types and the mud sappers that you see so often in the Go Battle League, it is a very scary pick in the right hands. Alright, well, thank you so much for watching today's video. If you enjoyed the battles and you want to see more videos like this on the channel, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe. I would appreciate it so much, and it helps out the channel a ton. Thank you again for watching, take care, and I'll see you in the next one.